All right. Yes. This
Yes.
shot. This is a big shot. This is another one. I know we probably said this on every one of them. I think every one of those shots is quite a big shot to do. But
Hmm.
I think we both wanted to have this shot. I think we both knew we should have
Yeah.
had it, right?
Yes, it's quite ironic.
Yeah, it has a very unique feel to it, and this came from this is a cover gouache painting, I think, that Otomo did. I believe this is gouache.
Hmm.
But yeah, and we obviously didn't want to put Akira in here for many reasons. We probably could have. The last shot of the tribute has him in there, and that's actually sculpted by a friend of mine who's is incredible, Raf Grassetti, and he's really really good at ZBrush. And
Hmm.
probably could have got him to do this, but he's very busy and he has a lot of stuff going on, and I think it works fine without it. Honestly, I think if he was
Yeah.
sitting there, it might be weird. I don't know. Do you think so? I don't know.
Yeah, it is weird.
I think
Yeah.
it'd be a little weird. Yeah. Again, we changed the color, the temperature of the color. We changed it to red. Um, Quite different. So it's missing a couple things. We're missing the background, which I don't think we ever wanted to have in there. I think it was just going to make the scene more complicated.
Hmm.
And then we didn't have him in there. But all in all, I think it's actually kind of interesting too if you think about it. It's like an empty throne, or the desire for power, which is what one of the big themes is, the story itself. So the desire for power and the lust for power, and a throne that's broken, and like the red carpet leading to it that's disheveled, and having all the debris and the rocks of a fallen empire and stuff. I think it's all really tied to
Hmm.
the theme of it. I think it's a very powerful shot.
Hmm.
It was a another shot that took a while. We both learned a lot on this one too, I think too, and I learned a lot about ZBrush on this one, which was kind of
Hmm.
crazy. That was quite a process. But yeah, let's talk a little
Oh,
bit about what were we gonna say?
you used the Marvel's designer to do the clothes, right?
Yeah, this is
Okay.
one of the first times I used Marvelous Designer, and a big thank you to my friend Travis Davids for helping me
Hmm.
out with understanding some of the dynamics of using Marvelous Designer. Travis Davids is a really nice guy, and he makes a lot of really great YouTube tutorials. And I asked him
Hmm.
one time, like, hey, how do you do this? And then he was kind enough to kind of give me some pointers and stuff. And we were trying to figure this part out, but I ended up abandoning it because I didn't want to do it, because I think it just was going to feel weird and it wasn't going to fit in the shot. And so
Hmm.
I ended up
Yes.
not doing it, just because I didn't think it was going to fit. And it's really hard to tie a knot in fabric in 3D. So I was like, I don't want to do it. Yeah, some things are just they're miserable to make. Here's some screenshots from the earlier production of this. I think with this,
Hmm.
I made a real simple shape. Let's see if I can
Hmm.
find the shape here. I'm going too far ahead, but I don't know if I think there is a screenshot of it in here. Okay, yeah. So I ended up making like, in the drawing you'd see these like this crazy sun ray, and in all his drawings I would try to find the size and the scale of it. So what I ended up making was like five or six random. I would take a cube, and you probably know how to do this too. You'd take a cube, and then you would augment it slightly and make kind of like a sword by taking the 4 points and shifting them, and then randomizing them, and then having them kind of, yeah, I just kind of got crazy with the randomizing it with the cloner and shifting it until I got like the general shape. Once I had the general shape, I'd collapse that all into one form, and from that form I would just make a big mess out of it basically. But
Hmm.
take that and then kind of collapse it all into one. This is a shot inside of Marvelous Designer where
Hmm.
take the material, and this is like this square that you see here is the material, the fabric, and then you just kind of drop it onto the chair. A big problem I
Hmm.
was having was the tension, the surface tension.
Okay.
It was really difficult to get. Like this all looks good, but then here is really kind of clumped up, and it was really hard to get it to naturally drape over here. It was so, it took me a couple hours, honestly. I was very
Hmm.
frustrated. And then
Hmm.
once you get the general shape, you just keep adding more subdivisions into it until you get that really tight, realistic looking fabric and material. And I really love the final result. It was just really
Hmm.
complicated to
Yes.
get it. And also porting things back and forth. When Mike and I make things, we would basically build basic shots like this. So it'd have like this. This is an older broken version of the sword parts of the throne, and this is a bad version of the throne. But we'd throw this in, and that was starting. We were starting to build the shots from here, and the pieces, the basic pieces. This is a really nice little sample render from
Hmm.
Octane of the process. And man, I'm really quite proud of how it turned out. The look of it,
Yeah.
it's pretty crazy. Like it
Yeah.
looks, yeah, it looks like the drawing. So it's really cool. Used ZBrush for this stuff, and I used a lot of custom alpha mats that I learned how to use via. Use a brush, and then you could stamp and
Hmm.
pull, and you can kind of. It's really cool. I liked it, and you'd kind of. I used multiple different brushes, some that were hard edged, and then some more like finite, um, like rock textures and stuff. But and here's another detail inside of Cinema 4D of the fabric. You gotta love Marvelous designer for this kind of stuff. It still is the best. You can't necessarily get this level out of other programs. I think it's just really
Hmm.
great. It's a really powerful program for what it is, and it's specific just for making garments and stuff. But hey, why not make a massive red carpet in Akira? That's how dense the geo is. You can't even see it. It's so dense. So
Oh, wow.
that's the geo. It's crazy.
Uh,
It's crazy dense. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. And also, like, I think what makes that scene really heavy is there's displacement in the material. I just realized that. So, yeah, this scene was really heavy. Here's some of that. Um, yeah, and here's inside of ZBrush just moving around.
Hmm.
I love and hate ZBrush at the same time. ZBrush is an absolutely incredible tool if you know how to use it. And then if you don't know how to use it, you totally hate it. So it's like,
I'm the guy don't know how to use it.
yeah, it's amazing
I,
though. It's so good, but it's
yeah,
so hard to use sometimes. So
it, yeah, it's looking very hard.
yeah, you'd be fine with the I think you do well with programs. Here's like what we end up doing is like on the ceiling of these of in the stairs and stuff. There's these pieces basically. Inside of Marvelous Designer, you cannot bring in heavy, dense geometry, so I had to bring in very simple, primitive geometry that would then replace it. But if you see here, there's these slots that are from the basic reference too. If you look at the drawing, there's these like columns, and so ended up doing the same thing inside of 3D. Here they are here, and each one of them, I did a custom destruction to it, and I think I did 6 of them because it gets really heavy in
Hmm.
geometry, and you can't use too many. But here they are. I started to stack them together. But you see how dense the geometry is. It's just really heavy. My worry was making the scene too heavy, but I wanted to have all those details in there because that's what makes it so rich. So
Yes.
going around and just destroying parts and bits and pieces and just chipping away at it and kind of making each piece basically. Made a broken column and 2 versions of one column that we could rotate. And basically, you
Hmm.
can get 4 angles out of it. You can get the front, side, back, and the other side. And then, yeah, now here's a higher res version of that shot. And you can see it like this is a replication right here. This is the same shot right here.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
yeah, unfortunately, yeah, that's that one. Same one here. But I think when you see the shot and it goes by so fast, you don't even pay attention unless you're looking at it frame for frame, which is fine, whatever. And that's what it looks like with all 4 windows too. Just kind of looking at it. Simple base lighting, some more geometry stuff, and then we started to really start play with lights and stuff. This was a really hard shot for us to light. I think we did. We'll see some screenshots, but we did a lot of different passes on
Yes.
this one. A lot. We were like, "Well, should the sun come from the? Should it come from the top?" And I was like, "Nah, I don't think it should come from the top because it's got to be like a sun, so it has to be natural."
Hmm. Hmm.
And then we put the natural light. We're like, "No, it's too flat." And we did this. I was like, "Ooh, that looks really good," but then it's very like artificial, you know. At
Hmm.
this point in the world, there's no artificial light really because everything's fallen apart. Technology is broken, and there's a restart in the world. And then we then this was a random test I was doing. I was like, wow, I don't know how this came about. It was like a massive light overhead with the ceiling off, I think, and then
Mm-hmm.
it almost looks like Blade Runner. I think I was really inspired by that interview scene in Tyrell's office in
Mm-hmm.
the original Blade Runner, and I was looking at that. I think we both look at cinema a lot for references of lighting,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, that was a reference, and we ended up not using that. I think the one we have is, if this is beautiful, I think the one we have in there fits the piece a little bit more too. So.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, we were passing the file back and forth. I think this is when you started trying out some other lighting options, right? What were you doing
Mm-hmm.
here?
Trying to put a daylight, I think.
Yeah. Was it just a daylight piece then that was in there?
Oh, yeah, I think I just put a daylight, but eventually I didn't use the daylight, and I put a giant spherical light
Oh, yeah.
to, yeah,
And then it rotated and stuff and would change, right? I think it was,
yes.
which was really beautiful too. I remember seeing when we started doing a couple tests, and I remember this came in, I was like, oh, it's great, because it started to really create some graphical elements, like making this light and making this dark and creating these like separations between things visually, which is really cool. Some color tests and stuff, and then starting to get the materials really starting to come together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, more lighting tests. Yeah, it was a long shot. There was so much to this shot, and then here's a render from outside of my machine. Um, yeah, it's actually not too bad. It's only 12 minutes a frame, which isn't too bad considering all the stuff that's going on in here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's using about 4 gigs of VRAM, which isn't too bad actually. It's not too bad. Actually, at 4 gigs, I can't use my other cards, so I would only be able to use the Titans for this, unfortunately. But yeah, and I think this is kind of what we ended up using. This is the file. It's so heavy, my viewport window lags, unfortunately. But again, some really great textures from Polygon. I think that's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, polygon.
Yeah, that's a really great resource. Awesome textures there. Yeah, somewhat clean, somewhat messy. Here's the Blade Runner, old Blade Runner. That's what we'd call the lights.
Oh, yeah, I
Maybe these are
remember
it. Should we turn these
yeah,
on? See what they look
yeah,
like.
we used the HDR file you used, right? You put
Yeah,
a,
yeah. Let's see. Animation. Let's turn this off. Okay, cool. Let's see what these look like.
okay.
Yeah, these are just different color light styles and stuff. So this is oh, okay, yes, this is an HDR, yeah,
Yeah,
file.
I remember that.
Yep, yeah, here it is. And so like moving this around and then adjusting the power of it and stuff, and then yeah, if we rotated it around, get some different, really cool different lighting styles. Yep, there it is. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Yeah, I remember
Oh.
when we started seeing this, I was like, ah, here it is. It's done. We found it. Here it is. And
That's
it's
interesting. Yeah, you used the interior HDR to light a
exterior.
yeah.
Isn't that weird? Yeah. I think just turning the contrast of it really,
Yeah,
really high
yeah.
up too, and
Yes.
adjusting it. Yeah. And you never know what you're going to get from this stuff, really. You know, sometimes I think that's one thing I love to do in 3D. I don't know. I know a lot of people obviously are much more well versed than myself, and they know exactly how to push the buttons that do the thing. You know, I like to kind of break things and wander around and make weird things
Hmm.
happen. I think that's where you make
Hmm.
some interesting stuff happen. Honestly,
Yes.
I think you're the same. You know, you
Hmm.
approach things similarly. You know, I think the reason why we didn't do this is you can't see the carpet very well.
Yes.
That was one of the problems, and it didn't really
Hmm.
read well. It didn't connect as well. So
Hmm.
I think the version that we ended up using actually ties really. It makes a lot more sense for the project. It's a little bit overlit, but I think it fits the rest of the project a little bit better. So, but
Hmm.
yeah, there he is. There's that throne shot, and the shot that's right after it. Instead of going into that separately, it's basically the same
The
shot.
cross shot.
Yeah, and this one took forever to render. I don't know, something was wrong with this one, but it was like really heavy on geometry, which is weird. They were separate from this one, but and then the particles and stuff is the amazing trap code form, which is just an outstanding plugin in After Effects that we just love, and I kept adding more. You remember, I just kept adding more. I'm like, oh, this needs more particles. I think it adds so much more dynamics to the shots too, and it's a little. I mean, I would never do this in real shots, like reality, but I think it fits this world really well. So, yeah. We used was it Fluschlauf or whatever, Fluschlauf, the the blur between Frischluft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how to read that.
I don't even know how to pronounce it. It's a German word, Fluschlauf or something like that. I can't remember, but it's a standard. It's a standard thing. If you use After Effects, you know what it is. But yeah, those are those two shots. Those are the throne shots. I think that concludes it for me. I don't know if there's anything else that you wanted to talk about, but yeah.
Yeah, I think it's okay. It's done.
Yeah, it is done. It is done. There it is, guys. There it is. Look at that. Boom, boom, boom. Awesome. Cool. Okay, we'll see you guys in the next shot.
Yeah, see you guys.